Good morning and welcome to the second day of JPR Internship Week. I'm Professor Todd Henneman, the internship coordinator for the Department of Journalism and Public Relations. We have a fabulous panel today of recent JPR graduates. They will be discussing how they leveraged their internships to help them find job opportunities after graduation. I'm going to just pause for a minute because I see some people are still populating, so I want to give everyone a chance to get settled in. Okay, it looks like everyone is here. We ran into just a few technical issues, but we're in the process of working those out. First, I want to remind you about your chance to win some great prizes. Everyone who attends today's sessions will be entered into a drawing for a chance to win either a Long Beach State sweatshirt, which I have right here by me. I'll show it to you at the end, or beach bucks. To qualify, you need to make sure that your Zoom profile displays your actual name. This is a professional event after all, and that you don't leave today's session early. If you're not sure how to change your Zoom name, I will drop into the chat a link that explains exactly how to do that. And you must be present at the end of the session today to win. Now, let me introduce today's co-moderators. Myra Bravo is a public relations major and communication studies minor in her final semester at CSULB. Myra manages the Instagram account for the Department of Journalism and Public Relations. She also is the social media manager for the campus chapter of the National Association of Hispanic Journalists and director of alumni relations for PRSSA. And Myra uses the pronouns she, her, and hers. A transfer student from Cerritos College, Myra in the past has interned as a blogger for CBS Radio. Joining Myra is Olivia Weinstock. Olivia is a journalism major and a business marketing minor who graduates in May. Olivia is the public relations manager for Beach TV News, where she also recently served as an anchor. In addition to her work for Beach TV News, Olivia contributes to Dig en Español, is treasurer of NAHJ, is a JPR internship ambassador. And Olivia uses the pronouns she, her, and hers. I'll let Olivia and Myra tell you about today's panelists.
Thank you, Professor Henneman, for that introduction. And thank you for having me on today's Zoom. I'm so excited to introduce to you our first panelists today. We have three great panelists who all graduated in the last 2 years, and each has chosen a different career path, showing the range of options available that we should all consider. Our first panelist is Gisselle Palomera. Gisselle is a non-binary multimedia journalist who reports on QTBI POC communities and creates a safe space within media. They recently graduated December with a bachelor's degree in journalism. Recently, Gisselle was selected as a fellow at the Wall Street Journal and works with the journal's newsletter and audience voices teams. Giselle's pronouns are they, them, so please refer to them as such.
Our second panelist is Bruno Lopez-Vega. Bruno calls himself a pandemic graduate, receiving his journalism degree from CSULB in May 2022. He is a news producer of the night shows for KESQ Channel 3, the ABC affiliate that serves the Palm Springs region.
And joining Gisselle and Bruno is Kaylee Tompkins. Kaylee graduated with a bachelor's degree in public relations and a minor in graphic design in May of 2023. In the summer of 2022, Kaylee began interning with the LA 28 Olympics and Paralympic Organizing Committee and now works as a social media contractor for LA 28.
Welcome, Gisselle, Bruno, and Kaylee. We are thrilled that you agreed to join us today. Throughout the session, we will be asking questions submitted in advance by our classmates, and we invite all of today's participants to use the chat function to submit more questions. We'll do our best to get to as many of them as possible. So let's get into those questions.
Okay, so the first question for our panelists that we have today. First of all, panelists, some of our attendees are looking for internships right now for the spring semester. Before we hear about what you're doing today, we'd like to know what internships you had and how you found them. Kaylee, we know you interned for LA 28. How did you find that internship?
As crazy as it sounds, I found it on LinkedIn. I had originally been following the games since the city has gotten the bid back in 2020. So I had like my emails signed up. I was signed up for the newsletter. And then one day, I want to say early spring of 2022, I got the notification that they were looking for their first cohort of interns. And I applied through LinkedIn, as sketchy as some of the LinkedIn applications are. And I was lucky enough to go through the interview process and land the internship.
That's amazing. Bruno, would you like to share next how you landed your internship?
Yes, can you all hear me all right? All right, good. So comedically, my last year at CSULB, I took a podcasting class that at that time was taught by Professor Nick Roman, who I don't think is at CSULB anymore. And during the first day of introductions, he mentioned that he was the host of All Things Considered at KPCC, which is an NPR affiliate station that operates out of Pasadena. And so when he said that, at the time, I was very interested in podcasting. I'd done some of that at my community college, and so I like, does KPCC have any internships? At the time, they didn't. It was past the cutoff point for their sort of official internship program. But I started off sort of doing sort of an informal internship with him. I did a number of reports for him, some of which I did air on KPCC, stuff involving the Super Bowl, the war in Ukraine, the nursing shortage, things such as that. And that eventually transitioned into actually joining their formal internship program, where I joined their podcasting department, their LAS podcast studio. So that funneled from that into there. So through a school connection and my own personal interest, that's how I managed to get that internship.
Awesome. And then Kaylee, if you want to share with us lastly, how you got your internship. Or sorry, Gisselle is last.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, I mean, I heard Kaylee say that she found her internship through LinkedIn, and that was pretty much my same experience. It was a little bit less straightforward than that, which is why I'm happy to be sharing my experience here today. Basically, I looked into a bunch of different fellowships, a bunch of different internships, different programs, anything that I thought I could land as someone who had just recently graduated. And so I came across this posting for webinars. Basically, it was from this organization that's a nonprofit that is called the International Center for Journalists. And basically, like, their mission is to create resources for journalists and distribute funding for projects to kind of create like a new wave of journalism, with this, like, with early career journalists who are the next wave of journalism. And so there was no promise of any fellowship or anything. I just joined the webinars. They were at 6 a.m. local time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. So it was really hard to get up early. But once I joined, I learned a lot of information about SEO, analytics, social media marketing and content, and like even just like internet spiders, like how articles, how you can maximize the types of words you use in your articles to make sure that, you know, when someone searches up some keyword on Google, your article comes up first as that fountain of information. And so I learned the webinars were kind of on different subjects, and there was a mentor from the LA Times, there was a mentor from Brown University, and a mentor from the Marshall Project who ran the webinars and taught us all this information. There was 50 of us international journalists joining those webinars, and once they were over, they said, the International Center for Journalists said, you know, we have 5 reporting grants that we want to give out to people, so pitch a project to us. So it was kind of like, you know, right then and there, you kind of had to think of a crazy, you know, project that hasn't really been like done before and that is national or even international. So I pitched a project about tracking anti-trans and LGBTQ plus legislation in the United States, given that this year it's been wildly out there. A lot of politicians are really pushing for this legislation. So once I created this project, the next step in the program that I, you know, was accepted into for these webinars was to interview with the Wall Street Journal as a virtually embedded fellow. And so that was basically like a partnership between the ICFJ and the Wall Street Journal. And so that's how I got this internship or this fellowship.
Thank you all so much for sharing. Our first question, I'm going to pass the next question on to Myra.
Thank you. Okay, so on Instagram, a JPR student asked for your advice on landing an internship when you don't have any previous journalism or public relations experience. Bruno, would you be willing to share your tips or suggestions?
Certainly. So, you know, an internship isn't the starting position that requires 5 years of experience. The understanding is that you're going into an internship, you don't know everything, and that this internship will be a learning experience for you. So don't be too concerned that you may not have a lot of stuff right now on your resume as you go to apply. You might have some stuff from school, that always helps. And certainly having some experience may, you know, when you're going for these actual, you know, internships that are at publications or any other news media platform or whatever you may have it, they'd want to see those things. But even if you don't, the way you present yourself goes a long way. You're a JPR student. Make sure you put that in there. They will see that this is, you know, a field that you're looking to pursue. And apart from, you know, generally when people, there are internship programs out there, they're looking to fill a position, but they're also looking to teach. So don't be too concerned if right now maybe you still haven't done that, you know, 400 level like TV news program or radio news program at CSULB. Just, you know, try to do a lot when you're applying to assert yourself forward and find other ways you can stand, either stuff that you've done sort of extracurricularly that demonstrate other sort of skills that may be valuable in the position you're looking to fill, the ecosystem of the job that you're looking to fill. So yeah, I would say it's something that you should stress very much about and make it a little competitive when you're looking to land an internship that you feel will have a lot of applicants, but try, you know, don't worry about it.
Thank you so much for that. Gisselle, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I mean, yeah, definitely. It's definitely about marketing yourself. I know that sounds really cheesy and very simple, but I mean, think about it. I think my interview with the Wall Street Journal, there was 5 other people that were being interviewed, and, you know, my chances were pretty high of getting it. But I think the selling point in the interview that I could still vividly remember was telling them, you know, I haven't had many resources growing up to get me to this point, but I've made it this far. So being at the Wall Street Journal, where, you know, they offer so many resources, like I can only imagine what I would be capable of, you know, having those resources. So that was like a major selling point. And yeah, it was like the most nerve-wracking interview because I was interviewing with 4 people, not just 1 or 2 or 3. And they're all leading experts in AI and media forensics and investigations. And so, yeah, like I said, just marketing yourself, telling people, you know, I'm the person for this job because XYZ. And, you know, that it could be anything. It could be your experience. My experiences were growing up as a foster kid, growing a tough skin and, you know, being able to read the room, being able to read people, that also gave me a like leg up in the, you know, in the competition, because being able to read people and being able to read the room really just sets you above from the rest when other people are, at the Wall Street Journal, you're not really sending emojis when you're trying to email an expert to ask for their, for their help on a subject. You don't really sign it like, cheers, unless you really know this person. But it's being able to read the room. If you're in an analytical environment, be as analytical as possible. If you're in an entertainment industry environment, be fun, be someone personable, be someone that people go to as a resource. And sorry, I know this is taking up a long time, but one other thing that I learned from meeting with people at the Wall Street Journal that work at the Life and Work Desk, that are directors and, get paid like 200 grand a year. They basically said, like, we don't really hire pedigrees anymore. We don't hire people who went to Yale because, that doesn't necessarily equate experience or skill. So don't feel bad about yourself at all, ever competing with other people who you have a better education or, who didn't attend state school. We're all here, and you can market yourself in a way that you can get these opportunities. I know I did, so it's possible.
Thank you so much, Gisselle. Kaylee, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, I mean, Bruno and Gisselle kind of hit it on the head. I think as JPR students, at the end of the day, everybody's a storyteller. And that's really what you're trying to get through the interview process when you are meeting with your potential mentor or supervisor. They want to know that you can tell the story, and most importantly, the story about you, because that's, at the end of the day, that's who they're going to be working with. Even if you don't have as much as a journalism or PR background, if you show that you're eager and willing to learn, I think that's ultimately the most valuable thing you can come out of those interviews with.
Thank you guys for that so much. Obviously, you are all aware that the interviewing and application process can be very daunting. So all of your words are very, very helpful. And Olivia has our next question.
Yes, speaking of kind of the interview process a little bit, for those who don't know, Gisselle was our opinions editor here at the Daily 49er when she served here at her time at the beach. And Gisselle, you also had a couple of other internships while you were here at CSULB. Of those experiences, what do you think helped you the most as you pursued your fellowship and jobs after you graduated?
Honestly, I didn't work at the opinions desk too long throughout the semester. So I'm thankful that I got the opportunity to work there while I did and to share my opinions, because I definitely have many. But I think that I got more experience from the other internships I got outside of school. For my internship course that is a requirement to graduate, I had an internship that was unpaid, which, is not ideal, but I'm here to say that internships and fellowships that are worth money, you have to apply for them like a year in advance. Sometimes, 6 months to a year, I would say. Those are the jobs, the internships and fellowships that are going to get you, paid and paid on time. Like I said, so going back to that internship class, it was an internship with the Queer 26, which is a like arts and media platform out in Los Angeles that is connected with like the entertainment industry. And so that experience and those connections I built there actually led me to a really great opportunity shortly after graduation, where I was accepted as a press fellow for this initiative for the world's largest LGBTQ plus film festival. And so it didn't pay too well, but I got to interview some celebrities. I had my red carpet moment. I gained a lot of experience and definitely a lot of connections, along the way. And so that was that. And then during that time, I also had a fellowship with AmeriCorps through College Corps, which was like a inaugural program. And I was one of the first, I think it was like 50 students that got accepted. And that one was $10,000, for a school year, 2 semesters worth of work. And it paid my rent, and it was great. I graduated, unfortunately, so I couldn't continue in the program during the second semester, but yeah, those are all experiences that, I found throughout campus. That was way before I was on LinkedIn and, took seriously like building a portfolio. So yeah, those opportunities are out there. You just got to look, you got to find it. You got to take your time because it will take a lot of time. And my biggest advice is like, if you can rely on your family financially, do it so that, you're able to get by and not feed into the starving writer trope.
Thank you. That was such an amazing response. We'll move on to Bruno now. If you can just give us a little bit about how your experiences were at Long Beach and maybe outside of that and how it helped you land your internship.
Yeah, I always say that my experience at Long Beach prepared me very well for my current career. Initially, I was thinking about, as you've heard, going into podcasting, going into radio. That didn't exactly pan out at the time because I was the podcasting intern, but I was also thinking about going into radio news, and they gave that to the radio news intern. Ooh. But I eventually managed to right along and go into news, TV news rather, and I got that experience with Elizabeth Sanchez, who did the TV news program. I'll also say she always says take it twice. Take her advice, take it twice, because it gives you more experience, more stuff you can put on your reel, especially when you're looking to get in more competitive markets. The more stuff you have on your reel, the more it helps you stand out and demonstrates your ability to report or produce. So that was very helpful, gave me like a sort of starting leg up that I'm sure that a lot of our applicants didn't have. Even people that I work with don't have. And it shows because I'd want to say that I was a few steps ahead of a few other people that I work with in terms of coming in and sort of hitting the ground running and being able to do a lot of the things that they asked me to do. So definitely when you're looking into your final career, look at those upper level classes that, working at the 49er or any other sort of more hands-on class that gets you the ability to actually produce any sort of product, be it article or a report that you think will translate well into getting you that final job.
Yeah, thank you so much. All that information is so helpful. So I guess we'll move on to Kaylee. If you can just give us a little bit of insight at your time at Long Beach and how you think it helped you land your internship.
Yeah, I mean, so my time at Long Beach consisted of joining PRSSA. I was on the e-board for, I want to say, 2.5 years. I served as creative director, so I basically got the chance to actually rebrand PRSSA when I first took on the role. And that gave me a lot of opportunities to grow my portfolio professionally. And then once I got to digital tools, I kind of had the foundation with Jen Newton to kind of set up all of those assignments that she assigned and basically hone them in, tighten them, and take my learnings from that class and apply them to my portfolio and eventually the rest of the work I would go on to do. But I think outside of that, I also took on positions within my sorority. I was an events planner and a philo coordinator. I didn't get involved with DIG or Daily 49er, unfortunately. That's probably my biggest regret. I know we're going to talk about that later, but I have to say it now. But I think whenever I wasn't working, I was working for my own personal brand. I think being a PR student, you have to know how to market yourself before you know how to market for others. And I think that is so important because you are going into these internships with such limited experience. If you come in with a broad range of skills just from the learnings you learn in your classes or just in your own free time, it's like you'll stand out tremendously. And I think that was probably my biggest takeaway in Long Beach specifically, was taking what I learned in classes and applying it to my own personal brand before I applied it to others and in my internship.
Thank you. Oh, that was so amazing. I hope everyone got a little bit of an insight at, what you can do here at Long Beach and how you can build your portfolio better, so that way your interview stands out. But speaking a little bit of life after graduation, I know everyone would like to learn a little bit more about what you do today. So Bruno, let's start with what you do at KESQ. KESQ. Tell us about a little bit more what you do like on a day-to-day.
Sure. So again, I'm the night producer. So we have multiple shows throughout the day. We have like a 6 a.m. show, a noon show, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock show. And those are all handled by their own individual producers. Me and another producer are in charge of the night shows, which are at 10 and 11. The 10 o'clock show is an hour-long show. The 11 is a 30-minute show. So I work from 2:30 to 11:30. It takes basically up until showtime to get the whole thing ready for air. I plan out the newscast, all the different stories in the order that they go in. I write sort of the headline scripts, the T scripts, national story scripts, local stories that need writing. I fill in stuff like the lower thirds, little graphics that you'll see at the bottom screen with the names and headlines. I'll fill those in. Coordinate with any reporters that I might have during the night, get updates from them, anything that I might need to know when I'm writing things or when I'm sending stuff to promotions to let them know, hey, this is what the reporter is going to be doing tonight. Here's some video you can use. I coordinate with editors. Whenever I'm writing out a story, I'm giving them video sources from our national online sources. And I say, I want this cut here, I want this cut here, I want to show this and this, edit it to script. Sometimes whenever there's breaking news, we have scanners, me and the assignment desk person that are online. Sometimes they're not there, so I'll be in charge of sending out our photojournalist out to any sort of scene that may be important. Last night there was a fire. So there were two things that happened. There was possible shooting and there was a fire. They were still investigating the shooting. Sometimes those don't pan out. That one didn't pan out. That was just people carving shooting at night. But there's also a fire, and I'm like, you like go to the fire. Here's the address I heard on the scanner. Go do that. So that's quite a bit. That's also because I'm in a small market, so your experience may vary depending on the size of the market that you're at. I'm sure much larger markets they have those duties sort of more segmented out. But at the small market that I'm at, that's basically what I do. It basically takes from 2:30, from 10 o'clock, with the break in there, to get all of that done. So it's you're on a deadline every day. If you're working in news, you learn to write things fast, like that, as much information as you can. And yeah, it's a stressful job, but it's a good job.
Thank you, Bruno. We'll move on to Kaylee's day in the life, sort of day-to-day actions next. Thank you.
Oh, where do I start? Because every day in social is not the same, especially at LA28. For those of you that don't know, LA28 is essentially the organizing committee for the Olympic and Paralympic Games coming in 2028. It's very exciting. This is going to be the third time that the Olympics are hosted in LA, and the first time the Paralympics are going to be hosted in LA, which is very exciting. I am the social media contractor, and that essentially means that I work across the entire marketing team wherever I am needed. However, I specialize in content creation, community management, anything you really think of, social media coordinator roles. That's essentially what I am doing on the day-to-day. When it comes to events and other opportunities, I am interviewing athletes. I am putting together TikToks to sort of align with our brand. It's really been a crazy ride, I think, especially as we were getting closer to not only our games, but the Paris Games next year. We have been going through a lot because it is an exciting time. We announced 5 new sports into our games, which is really exciting, including flag football. And it's been a really exciting time. It's been something that I don't take for granted every day, because I realize how lucky I am being in this role, and for such a big iconic brand like the Olympics. Like if you would have told me 4 years ago that I'd be managing the social media channels of the most historic event, I don't think I would believe you. But it's definitely been something that has taught me so much in such a little amount of time. And I think that's what's so cool about marketing, is that you have to be on it 24/7, because there's very little room for mistakes, especially for such a iconic brand.
Yes, thank you, Kaylee. We'll move on to Gisselle now.
Cool. Sorry, just my puppy might be crying in the background. Sorry if you guys hear that. But yeah, so my day-to-day is kind of interesting. It kind of varies depending on if there's breaking news or not. I mean, there always is, but depending on what the breaking news is. So I currently help with audience voices and newsletters. So for the first couple of weeks of my internship, I was with Audience Voices. And so basically they have a process in which they acquire audience responses and use that for future article ideas. So in a lot of their articles on the Wall Street Journal site, they, at the end of the article, they ask a question for the audience to respond. And so based off of those responses, people want more explanation. They want a more in-depth article about, something specific that was mentioned in the article, but it wasn't, about the article. And so my job was kind of at first to kind of sift through all those comments, which is very mentally taxing, because a lot of people really just go online to be trolls and to say really negative things. And, a lot of these issues that the Wall Street Journal covers are very, very heavy topics. Everything that's happening with the conflict with Israel and Gaza. There have been a lot of other, conflicts here and there, a lot of trials that we cover. And so the next part of my job there is to also help out with this newsletter that it's basically like a Q&A that goes out weekly. And so my job is to sift through the articles for the Wall Street Journal early in the week, and then land on an article that, is either doing really well on the site, or a lot of people are responding to and want more information from or of. And so then I interview the expert reporter, or the reporter who, had this whole interview process with all of these experts for this topic. And based off of that, we create, questions that we think the audience would benefit from, receiving more information, more in-depth information. And also another part of that is just using up their resources as much as I can on a day-to-day basis. So joining a lot of their orientations and their training. They have a huge training and learning hub that I've been benefiting from. And so, there's a lot of resources within the Wall Street Journal and such a big platform. So, also being virtually embedded, which a lot of these journalism jobs are nowadays, I would say like half, if not maybe more than half. You really have to just be very assertive, and you have to be very, you have to be very assertive, because if not, they will forget about you. They will not, give you any work. And a lot of the time, these internships and fellowships, it might be the first time they have someone in this position for this internship. Like this is their first time having a fellow in this capacity. So a lot of my fellowship has kind of been like day to day, rather than it's been a whole structured fellowship where I'm going to do this, this, and this, and learn this, this, and this. So yeah, that's kind of my day to day.
Thank you, Gisselle. We'll pass it on to Myra for our next question.
Thank you. So some of our attendees, including me, will be completing their undergraduate careers soon. Others are looking for internships for the spring. That brings me to our next question submitted through Instagram. What are the best resources for finding jobs and internships within journalism or PR? Kaylee, do you have any resources for PR specifically that you'd like to recommend?
So before I got my internship, I would go on Instagram specifically and follow a bunch of PR agencies, whether they're boutique agencies or fairly well-known agencies, and constantly keep track of their job postings. They are posting jobs all the time, I promise you. But even if they aren't, they're always looking for some freelancers or just contract work. I find that those are super helpful. But they also post, it's also just good to follow them just for common PR practices and tips and just anything that you might think you may need in the PR world. Those are like resources right at your fingertips. And usually if you like reach out to those brands or boutiques, agencies, they're almost always willing to reach back out to you and answer any questions you have. So I would say if you are looking for an agency or in-house, whatever, those would be like the first things I would do is make sure you follow a bunch of them. I always found them super helpful in terms of building my own brand, but also what to look for when I am like when I did do my internship, I could easily spot out different trends because I had those PR agencies that I was following tracking them for me.
Thank you, Kaylee. That's so helpful. I know a lot of us are going to put that into use. Gisselle, would you like to add anything for journalism?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think this kind of is pretty universal. My best advice is, be connected, whether it's through LinkedIn or in person or, word of mouth, anything that where you hear, jobs are being posted or even just being talked about. And also do your research. A lot of these corporations and nonprofits, post jobs, and it sounds like a great opportunity at first, but it might not benefit you in the long run. It might cause you a headache. I think I've had just as many good experiences as I've had bad ones with, my internships and fellowships up until now. And I think a lot of that like heartache and headache could have been saved by, doing some research on, who owns these companies, who's affiliated with them, what kind of partnerships do they have, what kind of work am I going to be doing? Is it going to be mentally taxing? Is it going to be something that I'm actually going to be enjoying doing, day to day? And I understand that as like interns and fellows, like we don't really have that much freedom to choose what we're going to be covering and things like that. So keep an open mind, don't say no to opportunities, because I know I said that I would never work doing data reporting, and that's what I've been doing like most of this year. I said I would never work for a nonprofit. I've interned at like 5 different nonprofits. So, never say never, which is also super cheesy, but it definitely applies.
Thank you so much. Bruno, do you have anything that you could add?
Yeah, too. My sort of pathway into internship went by fairly quickly, so I didn't dig as deep as maybe some other people may have had to. I know a lot of people look at newsletters and really like combing LinkedIn, looking for the potential openings. I know that in established platforms such as KESQ and KPCC, they had spring, summer, and fall internship opportunities that would roll around every season, and so if you're trying to find something like that, those are typically, you'll find those on sort of their job listing websites, whatever it is they use when you go to their website. So you go to the jobs, the internships will come up there. And they also tend to have internships in a variety of different areas. So I know at KPCC, there's a podcasting intern, there's a news intern, there's a marketing intern. There are all sorts of different internship opportunities within that. And they also, again, if it's a news organization, they want to give you opportunities to do things you want to do, especially KPCC, since they're public media, they really want to help you out. So ask for different opportunities to do other things outside of necessarily what my internship said I would be doing, and they let me do it. I got to sit in a newscast, I did a few more reports even while I was the podcasting intern. So definitely looking for listings like that. And then also your professors. I got my internship almost directly through a professor. Is David Metzger still doing design? Metzger? Yeah, if you see David Metzger, 99% of his body weight is helping you. So your professors want to help you. If they know anything, they'll be able to tell you. So also, prod your professor every now and then if you think you are having trouble. They'll if there's anything they can do for you, they'll be able to help you as well.
Thank you so very much, Olivia.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next question. So we often hear about the importance of building our professional networks. What role did networking play in landing roles after graduating? Bruno, if you want to share first.
Just a second. Yes. So so with Palm Springs, we're a very sort of, the Coachella Valley is a very sort of insular area. Everyone knows everybody. To this day, I keep running to people that I knew from high school constantly at the barbershop I go to. So in that sense, being a local and being able to market myself as a local really helped out because that's they're big on hiring people that know the area, especially as TV news. If you tell me like a cross street, I can tell you where that is. So both of that, and then also I also knew a few people. When I was in community college, I took a sort of a basic TV news writing class with a professor by Laura Jackson, who is also their weekend anchor. So when I applied, I was like, oh, I know Laura Lee. I took classes with her, and so that was also very helpful because there's like, Laura, do you know this guy? I was like, yeah. So the more sort of connections you can make, the more likely you are to get into a career, because these people can all vouch for you.
Thank you. Kaylee, do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
I mean, I feel like as soon as you get your internship, you have your network right in front of you and the chance to network with so many people a part of the business that you are interning for. I was extremely lucky to kind of get the chance to, whenever I was free, really just reach out to people even outside of my department and just learn about them. I was like, hey, do you want to go get coffee or whatever on our like 10-minute break, whatever. And I learned so much about them because there's so many different like backgrounds and just experience in general, especially in the sports industry. I feel like nobody really starts in the sports industry. They all come from different industries before they finally land in sports. And it's been really cool to see just where people have come from and that kind of their learnings on how what got them into sports, especially when they see that you are putting in the work and putting in the work to stay and just keep learning. I think that puts you in the back of their head for different opportunities that come up, whether it's in the org or somewhere else. I would just highly recommend overall to really take advantage of the network you are given as soon as you get that internship. Treat every day as an interview, essentially, with the people around you so that you are building those connections beyond the internship itself.
Thank you, Kaylee. Gisselle, would you like to share?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we all really often hear that, college could end up being a waste of money, that, a lot of people that graduate with certain majors don't end up doing what they love or what they went to school for. And so I think the biggest stress about graduating and that impending doom of like not landing a job right away is like, not having that opportunity, right as soon as you graduate. And so, I mean, I'm here to say that honestly, it takes time. A lot of these opportunities, like I said, are 6 months ahead, a year ahead. A lot of corporations and publications, especially major ones, take a really long time to hire. So your job as someone who's about to graduate is to build a really strong network. I think I wish that I could have built mine a little bit more before I graduated, but I was preoccupied with other things and, made other decisions. And so either way, I ended up here and I'm still kind of building that professional network. But, in times of like the journalism industry, and I think I'm not too sure about the PR industry, but more so the journalism industry, it's very like, it's not certain. A lot of people get laid off. Even people at the Wall Street Journal get laid off all the time. And so you're never really secure the way that you think you are, even if you land this big job right after graduating. So, you know, being at the forefront of other people's minds and going back to marketing, like marketing yourself in a way that, like, even if there isn't an opportunity at the moment, if you're marketing yourself in the best way that you can to this professional, you know, like people at the Wall Street Journal or, you know, at LA 28, like they might think of you for a future opportunity. I spoke with the director of life and work at the Wall Street Journal, and she said that, you know, there was this reporter that did a fellowship with her, and she wasn't the right person at the time to continue into a staff position. But this person, this reporter, she kept persisting and she kept emailing her every couple of months and updating her on what she was working on and the experience she was getting. So when the time came and there was a position open for her, it was hers. You know, this was the first person that this director at Life and Work thought about to fill this position. So yeah, like I said, I think that's like professional networks are your lifeline to making sure that you don't fall through the cracks after graduation, because it's way too easy to do that.
Well, thank you everyone so much for answering all of our questions. We're going to move on here to some in the chat. I'm going to pass it off to Myra.
Yes, we really appreciate all of the valuable information and advice you have all shared this morning. I know that we have several questions from the chat. Professor Henneman, what questions have students submitted?
We have some general questions and then some that are for specific panelists. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. The first question is, since some internships don't guarantee an employed position afterwards, what advice do you have for us to transition from intern to landing a job? Does anyone who wants to take this one?
Well, I got an idea. Definitely, if you're in your internship and you're hoping this will turn to a job, don't rely on that. It didn't work out for me. I was in the internship and I thought I could have a good chance, but I wasn't quite sure. But I always had the backup, which was back at home. There are a couple TV news stations I've done that, and if that doesn't work out, I can go do that. And after that, I didn't have a backup after that, but I had something sort of lined up that I thought might also be a good plan if I needed to fall back to something else if my internship didn't immediately guarantee me employment. So it definitely does help to keep your options open, especially in the sort of environment that we're in. Who knows? Nothing's guaranteed, so always have options.
And Bruno, I know you're from the Coachella Valley. Did you know anyone at KESQ before you interviewed there, or how did you?
My former professor, Laura Jackson, she's primarily a professor at our local community college, but on the weekends, or if someone's off and we don't have anyone to fill, she can come in and she'll do like weekend anchoring. So I've worked with her a few times now after our weekend anchor left the station a few months back. So I didn't hype it up a lot, but I said, in my discussions with the mentor that I was interviewing with, hey, I know this person, and I've done some stuff with them, and I did some stuff while I was at the community college, so that also helped out a bit as well.
And Kaylee, can you tell us a little bit about kind of the conversation you had, or how you went from being an intern to continuing your work now with LA 28?
Yeah, so I think from, I want to say a month in, I started having conversations early on from the start of the internship on how I can stay with the organization if that was ever a possibility. However, you obviously have to like show your skills and present yourself in a way that like proves you deserve to be there. But I constantly was checking in with my mentor and supervisor, asking them, okay, what's going to make me stand out? What's going to keep me on? Because I was extremely passionate about the Olympic movement, and I knew I was meant to be a part of the org. And so I kind of just showed that throughout the entirety of my internship. And by the end of it, early August, I had deeper conversations. Obviously, I approached them and I was like, hey, look, I know I'm going into my senior year. However, if there is a chance to extend my internship at least to the winter, I hope you know that I would absolutely love the opportunity. I think if you show that you're eager and that you're willing to make the time out of your own schedule, I planned my entire school schedule around the internship because I was that dedicated to keeping this job. And they surprised me at the end of my internship. I cried a little, I'm not gonna lie. But they surprised me and told me I was getting extended till December. And then when December came, I didn't even have to have the conversation. They said, "We love you on the team. We're gonna extend you till your graduation." And then they just keep extending me beyond that. So it's been a wild ride, but I think you just have to build that really strong connection with your mentor and supervisor, because that's really what's going to make the difference in you extending your internship beyond graduation and eventually leading to a full-time role.
And Gisselle, is there anything you'd like to add? Don't feel pressure.
No, I mean, I'm still kind of in the process myself of landing, a full-time position, but I am here to say that it is quite difficult, and I've only known a couple people who go straight from graduating to landing a full-time staff position. So don't be hard on yourself, and learn the ins and outs of freelancing, so that while you're looking for that big job, you also have clips and you have other ideas that you've been able to prove that you can do the work, and that you've been able to like actually create this work. So yeah, I mean, freelancing it doesn't pay too much all the time unless you land at a major publication like the New York Times or LA Times, but yeah, just don't lose out on those connections. And yeah.
And our next question is specifically for Bruno. I'm a student who currently lives in the Coachella Valley and is attending community college here. Sorry, getting ready to transfer in the fall to CSULB and get a bachelor's degree in journalism. My question is, what made you come to the Coachella Valley? Well, we're going to answer that. Bruno's a Coachella Valley native. But what's some advice you would give to a person coming from a small valley like Palm Springs who has dreams of becoming a future reporter?
Well, definitely, Professor Sanchez will tell you, I'm sure if it's TV news or radio or print reporter, but for TV news, I know KESQ were hired. Definitely you want to, I forget, because Sanchez said it was producer, I think it started a large market, reporter started a small market. So this would be Palm Springs would be a good place to sort of get a running start. When you go to KMI or KSQ, I'd say go to KSQ. But you go in there, you get your reps for a few years, and then from there you move your way up. Don't be too daunted by the task, and because some people that come into these news jobs, they don't necessarily have a lot of experience. Sometimes they're just looking to fill a position. Reporting and producing, those are hard jobs, not something you essentially like go into and do an amazing job right away. They're stressful. So not that they're impossible, but you're here in internship week, you're learning, you're getting experience, you're getting all this information connection. So you're on the right path, I would say, as it is. You're doing work to build yourself up. So I'd say even though you're coming from small market, small area, that doesn't necessarily limit your ability to do what you want to do.
Thanks. The next question is says it's open to anyone. What is the one thing you would do differently to better prepare yourself for life after graduation and trying to find either a job or internship?
I can answer that if possible. I would say that, it's really a great opportunity to get clips with the 49er and with Dig Mag and all these like campus publications. But, at the end of the day, these big jobs, like if you want this big job and you're set on that being your goal, you're going to have to do a little bit more than that and, kind of venture outside of campus. And like I said, these are great opportunities to be able to cover things that you like, that you care about, that affect you on a day-to-day basis as a student. So, I mean, if you are going to stick with a campus publication, think about your future, think about it. Like a lot of these big jobs, like want people who have like reporting experience on breaking news. These are like some of the highest paying jobs that I see. And so, if that's something that is your goal, and obviously this goes for different, roles that you want to land. But, if you want to land that big role, you need to be able to, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, like I said, just connections and networking. Yeah.
Thanks, Gisselle. So we're coming up on noon. I want to check in with our panelists. We have a few more questions. Are you able to stay with us like another 10 minutes?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. So the next question is, as a current PR senior, where do you think I can find more information regarding a potential internship? Any connections you all may have. I completed my internship already. So you're talking to a PR senior who has completed an internship and is looking for advice on what to do next.
I'll take this one since I'm the PR student on the panel, but I would say make sure you stay in touch with whoever your advisor or mentor was from your previous internship, because you never know when you could get called back for another job opportunity later. And then I think depending on what you want to do after graduation, you can either look for a graduate internship if you still feel like you need more experience, or you can just go out and start looking for opportunities. I mean, there's so many in the PR world. Even if you feel like you're outside of the description of what they're asking, if it's entry level, you're expected to be ready to learn those skills that are in the job description. So I would say just apply yourself to as many things as you can. I think I applied to like 15 different internships before I finally landed the LA28 one. And it's a tough road. Like everybody said, it's not easy, but I think you are ultimately going to land where you need to be and find what honestly just makes you happy with your job and what you're passionate about.
And Kaylee, the next question is directed specifically at you in the Q&A chat. It says, do you think knowing a lot about sports is essential to get a job or internship at a place like LA28?
Yes. So I think, so obviously the Olympics, you have 28 sports. That's a very, very different from just like working in the NBA, MLB. But I think if you go in with the knowledge of at least 3 or 4, you're going to learn so much more as you continue to work. Like you're going to be forced to learn more essentially, because that's what this job entails. I have always been a big sports fan. I grew up in a very sports heavy household. I played water polo. I was an athlete myself. I was supposed to play on the national team for Team USA before I got injured. But so it's kind of like a full circle moment for me with the Olympics. But I went in super passionate about sports. I would say you don't have to be the biggest sports fan to land an internship like the Olympics because of all the departments that we have. There's so many different roles where I have talked to the interns in this past cohort, and they didn't even know that they really wanted to work in the sports industry until they landed this specific internship. So I didn't really want to work in the sports industry because I was an athlete. I kind of wanted to separate myself and get a new experience. But it always has a way of finding its way back to you. But I think it's just like one of those things you have to learn if you are interested in working in it. And I feel like that's applicable across all different industries. Like if you want to work in the music industry, you should be up to date with pop culture. So yeah, hope that helps.
Also, real quick to interject, sports news will come at you from nowhere. I told Gary, I'm not going to write sports. Well, guess what? Our sports director's out on paternity leave, and I'm writing his sports on Mondays and Tuesdays. So I'm now the sports person. Didn't think I was going to be the sports person. So if you're thinking I'm never going to write sports, it'll come at you just like that. So get ready for that.
Thanks, Bruno. So the next question has two parts. The second part, I'm interpreting it as being more for me, so I'll answer that part. The first question is it possible for a student who comes straight out of college to get a job with a big company like ESPN or the NFL Network? What are your thoughts?
Oh, go ahead.
Let's go with Gisselle, and then Bruno will go over to you.
Sure.
I definitely think it is possible, but like I said, I think it really just depends what your experience is and how well you market yourself. You know, a lot of these positions do require, you know, a lot of knowledge and a lot of years of experience, but if you are able to market yourself in a way that, you know, you're like, this is my experience, this is how I can offer perspective, then, you know, they might look at you differently and they might put you up on a higher ranking than some other candidates that have those qualifications they're looking for. And so another, you know, yeah, I mean, that's what my experience would say. I won't take up too much time, but go ahead, Bruno.
Yeah, I'll say one of the producers I work with, he came to our station from ESPN. He was working on LA. I forget why he left, but he doesn't have any like formal education. He's a good producer, but like I think that was like one of the first jobs he landed. Sort of came out here for one reason or another. And then also, you know, a lot of people that I was with while I was in sports journalism with Metzger when I was at CSULB, you know, these people live and breathe sports. So I don't think, you know, you want to necessarily have, you know, this big, you know, the apprehension, oh, this is, you know, a big deal, a big time, you know, job. As long as you know, show the commitment is there, your passion for sports journalism, because, you know, you may not be necessarily reporting on the sport that you may be necessarily passionate in, as long as you have the commitment to learn and have, you know, sort of like a foundation there. I'm sure it'll take you, I don't think it's necessarily that big a deal that it's a larger sort of platform.
And what I'd add, and I invite our panelists to speak up if you agree or disagree, but what I'd add is if you have a very specific goal like that, like I want to work for ESPN eventually, or I want to work for the NFL Network, you need to strategize about how you're going to get there. And think about internships that can lead as kind of a path to that point. One of our panelists tomorrow works at ESPN now, and if all of our panelists' LinkedIn profiles are available on the Internship Week website, if you look at it, he had an internship with Disney, which is the parent company of ESPN. And then he had an entry-level job at ESPN and basically moved up in different jobs at ESPN. And before he had his internship with Disney, he had a different internship. And so sometimes you want to think about how can I, if I know this internship, for example, Disney is super competitive, how can I make myself a better candidate for that? And that might be getting another internship at a place that isn't your dream place, but that is going to make you a stronger candidate when you apply to Disney. And then you're making those connections and you can be thinking, I forget if it was Gisselle or Kaylee, but someone talked about thinking about every day as kind of like interviewing for a job in a way. And so you're thinking like, you know what you want to accomplish, like what can I be doing along the way to show them my skills, my talent, and be making a good impression. And so it's not the sort of, it would take a lot of a combination of luck and skills to have done no planning and somehow like score something like that when you graduate. So if you have a really specific goal like that, talk to professors, mentors, whoever, and strategize on how to get there.
Do you mind if I add one more thing to that? Another thing that I remember from having like kind of like one-on-one coffee meetups with people at the Wall Street Journal, I met with the head of investigations, and he said, you know, I asked him, like, what do you think it takes to have a position within the journal, whether it's entry level or, you know, mid to senior level? And he said, you know, I really just want to work with people that it gets tiring to work with people who just come with you with problems. You know, you say like, oh, there's an issue with the website, or, you know, there's an issue with, we're not seeing as much engagement on certain posts if you work for like social media. And so what he said was, you know, we really want to hire people that come with solutions. So that's really going to set you apart from the rest of the competition. If, you know, if you really do want to, if you are set on landing that job, and part of that is what Todd said about, you know, strategizing. So you really want to look at, if you know that you want to work for ESPN, do some research, look at what their issues have been, what headlines have been written about, you know, the actual company. Has it been fluctuating on the market? You know, what kind of investors are, you know, a part of it? And so I think with that, you'll be able to, you know, strategize, like, once I'm in this position, whatever position you want to land in, these are the solutions I have to offer. And so they're going to immediately want to work with you based off of that, because, you know, nobody wants to run a company that has all these issues and people are just coming at them with, you know, more problems or pointing out these problems without actually doing anything proactive about it.
And our last question is, so this is open for anyone who would answer. What are some tips and tricks you found helpful while you were here at CSULB to get you to where you are today? So is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to add, or anything you'd like to reemphasize?
If you're not in your final semester, if you're maybe doing one of your TV news production or your radio or 49er classes, do it again. That's, I would say, coming out of Long Beach was my biggest regret, because, you know, just it gives you the opportunity to have a little larger body of work, or maybe even do another class, because it shows, you know, either a range of skills, or just shows off more of what you have. It makes you more marketable when you're going into like an actual job that you've done all these things, and you have more of a body of work that is demonstrable of your ability to do whatever you do, be it PR or anything news related, your reports, your articles, and all that. So definitely try to squeeze the most out of your college experience you can, in terms of, you know, stuff that you can provide that's professional, just having fun. Make the best of this sort of environment that you're in before you graduate.
If I can add to that, I would love to say that, you know, I think there might have been an article on the 49er at some point, written maybe like a year plus ago, about how this person was, I think it was an opinion piece on how this person was kind of upset that so much of our requirements to graduate are, you know, things that are like joining workshops and things like that, or joining a JPR day, you know, like this whole week, I think you had to, you know, go out of your way to kind of fit this JPR into your schedule, this JPR panel into your schedule. And so, you know, don't be upset at that. These are all things that you're paying for with your college tuition. These are all things that are gonna, like, they're not gonna give you a grade to graduate. They're not gonna enrich your GPA, but they're gonna enrich you as a professional, and they're gonna get you talking to people. You know, a lot of these places, I really hated going to these workshops where I had to introduce myself and say, you know, what I'm up to, and, you know, share my experiences. But at the end of the day, that made me a better public speaker. It made me speak with more conviction about what I'm interested in and what my passions are. So take all these opportunities that you can, you know, if you're able to, if you're privileged enough, you know, not all of us are. So, you know, if you really do want to have a leg up, try your best to, you know, reach outside of just going to class every day and finishing these projects. But also on that note, I would say use all these projects to enrich your portfolio, because you're doing all this work and it's like, you know, I did all this work and I just got graded for it. And later on, I realized my biggest regret is that I didn't use those projects to market myself, and I could have had bigger opportunities by the end of the time that I graduated, you know? So don't be upset at the work you have to do. This is stuff that's going to help you build a portfolio, market yourself. It's going to make you grow up as a professional and as a person. So yeah, just take advantage of it as much as you can. It's going to be over before you know.
Thanks so much. On behalf of Olivia, Myra, and the entire JPR community, I want to thank you so much, Bruno, Gisselle, and Kaylee. We're so fortunate to have you part of our JPR family, and truly my favorite part of internship week is getting to see former students again and learning about all of the amazing things that you're doing now. In a moment, I'm going to announce the winners of today's prizes. First, let me tell you about tomorrow's panel. It features an alumnus who graduated 5 years ago. It features alumni who graduated 5 years ago and work at places like ESPN and Amazon. It starts at 11 a.m. again and uses the exact same Zoom link as today. And so I hope you'll join us. Now comes my second favorite part, which is giving out prizes. Today we used a randomizer to select a winner of our CSULB sweatshirt and 2 winners of beach bucks. So I've been texted the winners, and our winner of the sweatshirt, and I apologize because I'm probably going to mispronounce people's names. Josiah Brown. And then the beach bucks goes to our own JPR TikTok or JPR LinkedIn manager, Bella, and the other beach bucks go to Victoria Sanchez. So you'll be receiving an email with details about how to get those. So please keep an email out or an eye out for that email. Let's see. We're getting some thank yous in the chat. So especially from Barbara Kingsley. So in case you don't see that, I want to pass that along on behalf of Barb. I also want to, there's been a lot of talk about life after graduation, and I want to let everyone know about a workshop that is coming up next week. Oops, it's called I'm Graduating, Now What? And it is a virtual workshop 4 to 5 next Wednesday, December 6th. To RSVP, go to Career Link. I've dropped into the chat in a link that explains step-by-step how to register for this. So this is a timely opportunity, and it's really intended for people who are in their last semester at CSULB. So if you're wrapping up at the end of the semester, this is the workshop for you, although it is open to anyone who would like to attend, including recent graduates. As I mentioned, tomorrow our panel starts at 11 again using the same Zoom link. Thank you so much, and keep in mind this a quote that I came across in some research on internships, which is that student internship experiences can be regarded as a door opener to the labor market, and that is why they are so important. So thank you so much. I'll stick around a few minutes in case anyone has any other sort of questions, and have a good day.